Hi,
Hello.
Dharmi.
Yeah, hi.
So, what we discussed earlier about agile project management, that agile project management by PMG is in collaboration with DSTM, and the handbook is the reference guide for the foundation and practitioner exam. We talked about some of the benefits of agile, so I will just repeat. Strengthens communication, in that the emphasis is on interaction with people, more face to face communication, and a little informal about it. Yeah, and there are many other ways of doing communication, like requirements analysis or constant feedback from customer or reviews. Using agile reduces the risk on late delivery. This is due to the fact that we are actually anchoring the end date of the project. That is, we say that we don't move the finish date of project. We achieve this by keeping our scope or features as kind of flexible. That is, we are able to de-scope requirements or features just in case we are not able to deliver on time. We also talked about, we emphasize on the imminent priorities of the business, and we build solution to the priorities of business. So you take requirements, you engage business, you ask them their priorities, and you build to their priorities. But it is possible that when I run a project of about 6 months, the priority at the start of the project may change over a period of time due to competition, market conditions, and many other factors. So, what we do is we usually involve the business at the end of time box, or at the end of each increment, or at the end of some milestones, to again check their priorities and adapt to their changing priorities. We also talked agile helps in building the right thing, and this is because business is constantly up with us, and we do a lot of review and feedback sessions with them. We also do basically detailing of the design and requirements pretty late in the system, so we do not do detailing in the beginning, but we develop it, the details are developed at the time of the work to start. We talked about early benefits, that is early ROI. Just one second, actually I'm getting a lot of echo, Dharmi. I think it is from your side. Is it possible for you to do a mute, please?
Yes, I can do a mute.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Yeah, it is better actually. I mean, my voice itself was bothering me really. Okay, so we talked about early benefits. This is due to the fact that we take requirements, we prioritize them, and we divide project into many releases, and we decide what goes into the first release. We release the first version, and while we are developing the second set of release, people are using our previous release, and there we get benefits. We see early returns, good ROI. Apart from that, we also get feedbacks from the users on how they find the system, so that we can improve, and kind of based on the feedbacks and compliments and comments, we can decide on our next set of release. There is increased ownership due to the fact that we engage business users, and we also engage the people who want the product to be developed. And because they are throughout with us, and we keep showing them the product at the end of each time box, there is an increased ownership between people. The agile framework, let me just take you through that framework that we discussed earlier. The structure of Aturn is based on the philosophy that nothing is built perfect the first time, and do not expect 100% features or 100% requirements delivered, but do expect that the solution is delivered on time. The philosophy is implemented by the Aturn structure, which has principles, and principles means what must be practiced, the checklist, the attitude that we should take. Apart from that, principle also guides us in understanding what will bring agility to the way we run projects. There are about 8 principles that we discussed about agile. We'll have a quick look at them. Then we have processes. Processes means set of activities or the work that we need to do to deliver a project. Now, Aton offers 7 processes which are also called as phases, and there is a chronology about these phases, like what we should do in the very beginning. For example, pre-project, where we identify the idea and we check at the outset the costs and benefits of going further, and then we have this feasibility and so on. Each phase is a set of activities that takes an input and uh, does some work to create an output. I'll quickly give you a walkthrough on the processes as well. To do the work as defined in the processes, obviously we need people, and people come from various organizations, departments, location, and skill sets. So when we bring people from different sides, we need to tell them what are they supposed to be doing on the project. Who is doing the project management, who is leading the team, who is providing money to the project, who is developing, who is designing, who is testing. So a turn recommends a set of rules that comes with responsibilities. Aton also provides the organization structure and how the reporting and accountabilities work. So processes means work, people means who does that work, and product means when people do work, what they create. Products are the deliverables of your project. Some of these deliverables are technical deliverables, for example, design document, technical architecture, database designs, script, release notes, test cases, and so on. And some other are management products like business case, project plan, risk logs, issue logs, and reports. So Aton provides a suggestion on what deliverables are created, by whom, and when. And for all major deliverables of your project, it also suggests you what it should contain. Like if you create a business case, it suggests you what does a business case contain, like what do you write inside a business case. So people do processes to create products, but obviously people need to have some know-how, some understanding of techniques. Practices are your tools and techniques. Basically, you can say practices is actually the technique that you use to do your work. For example, if I ask you to prioritize requirement, you will ask me, how do I prioritize, what logic do I use? So one of the practice offered in the book is Moscow. Must have, should have, could have, or won't have. How do you use Moscow? Where do you use Moscow? That is basically practices. So philosophy is supported by principles, that is what needs to be done or why we need to take this attitude. Process means the work, that is the chronology of work and the activities. People are the resources and the roles who will do the work. Products are the deliverables, and practices is the know-how. So we discussed about principles. We talked about there are 8 principles. Each principle brings some value to the way we run projects. Focus on business need is about engaging the business stakeholders, understanding their requirement, understanding their priorities, and ensuring that we address their imminent needs. Delivering on time is about ensuring that we do not delay the end dates of project. We deliver minimum usable subset to the business. We also talked about collaborate. In that, we talked about good products will not be delivered until people work together. And who are these people? The people come from different suppliers, people come from customer side, people come from the development team. All these people will have to work together instead of silos to deliver the good solution on time and within the expected levels of quality. We also talked about due to the fact that people want to deliver on time, it is possible that they may rush through, and in that case they may not be able to achieve the desired level of quality. So this principle balances the fact that you deliver product. It is also fine that you may not deliver all features, but whatever we deliver is fit for purpose and the business can actually use it. We also talked about build incrementally from firm foundations, and that means you must have a good business foundation, which means the business owners must understand, the stakeholders must understand why are we doing this project and what is the benefit of doing the project. So they must use something like a business case to justify the project investment, and they should check at key intervals whether that justification is still valid. We also talk that while business looks after the why thing, there is this technical team who are looking at the solution, that is what will be done. So they are actually looking at the solution that we are going to deliver, the best practices to be used on the solution, how the solution will be configured, tested, and so on. And then we have this management foundation, which is actually helping both teams to coordinate and deliver the solution within time and cost. Then we have develop iteratively, because products generally start with an idea. We need to manage them to be built in such a way that we keep showing the customer a little bit developed feature in short intervals, so that we keep getting constant feedback, getting reviews done by the customer, so that they can give us a feedback and we know we are in the right direction. Communicate continuously and clearly is about emphasizing on communication and being more informal about uh, uh, the communication that we do. Apart from that, all parties who are involved, they keep reviewing the product. They meet at the end of each iteration or at the end of time box. Apart from that, we also said that it is more about face to face communication using facilitated workshops or daily stand ups. Finally, we have this demonstrate control. As we discussed, that a project is divided into releases, also called as increments, and each release or increment is further divided into time box, and each time box is divided into number of days. So you have 6 months project, and you have releases at the end of each 2 months. The 2 months is then divided into weeks, and you'd say how many weeks makes one time box, and each time box you have got divided into a day. Each day teams meet to see how are we doing on the time box, and as we finish time box we see how are we doing on the increment or release, and as we finish releases we see how the project is falling in place. So we divide it into smallest part. If smallest part works well, the bigger picture will fall in place. Apart from that, there are many other ways for escalation, which we'll look at as we proceed. We have the second element, which is processes, and then there are 7 processes, also called as phases in a turn. The first one is pre-project. This happens in the very beginning of project, and the purpose of pre-project. Yeah, you have any questions so far? I mean, I'm just trying to give you a summary.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
we didn't cover processes. We were going
No,
to
no, no.
cover people first.
Absolutely. But what I'm trying to do is I'm going to again, I'm just quickly showing you all the 5 things that makes up a ton, like principles,
Okay,
processes, products, practices. Yeah. So you know what all things we have to discuss. And once I am
okay,
done with that, we will pick up people and we discuss people. Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
So this is only summary overview part.
okay, okay, no
Yeah.
problem.
So
Yeah.
as I said, entire work of the project is divided into phases, also called as processes. There are total 7 processes in Agile, and these processes are executed in a order, and they each have a specific purpose or objective to be achieved. The very first phase of your project is pre-project. This is where you identify a business need, or there is an idea, or there is a problem that is identified to be solved. During this time, we discuss the terms of reference for the project, like what's the business objective and what are the terms under which the objectives needs to be achieved. The pre-project, at the end of the pre-project, we decide whether we should go to the next phase of the project, that is feasibility. So if you have an idea at the time of feasibility or investigation, we determine what is required to deliver that idea. That is, what kind of solution is expected, whether we can build that solution in house or do we need a supplier, whether we should make the solution from scratch or should we buy a ready made, are we looking for a short term or a long term solution. Apart from that, we also look at technical feasibility. We look at business feasibility, whether the business can pay for the project and whether the benefits projection is enough for the business. We also look at, can we actually achieve all these targets within the required timelines and constraints, that is of budgets and resources. So feasibility is a little bit more on the investigation part. Once feasibility is completed, we again look at, is this project good to go into foundations. So once we think that this is a feasible project and we should do it, we go into foundations. As part of foundation, we do three things. The business will identify their reasons and document them why we are doing this project and at what terms, like how much we are paying and how much we are expecting. They create something called as business case, and then they will use this as a baseline to review the project performance throughout the execution. Just like business creates their foundation, the solutions team will create their foundation in terms of what solution is to be delivered, what will be the high level technical architecture, which platforms we are using, anything about like high level database structure or infrastructure required for the project. So they will outline the solution. They will also outline things like the standards to be used, the technical authorities, the formal technical reviews required, but at a very high level. The attitude that we use during planning is we keep it enough upfront, yeah, enough design upfront. We do not do too much detailing. Apart from that, we also have management foundation. As part of management foundations, we look at how all this will happen, how the resources will be assigned, how the reporting takes place, how escalation takes place, what are the high level timelines, and we also look at how much is the overall budget and how it will be spent. So we actually do high level planning as part of foundation and we baseline our plans. Once this is achieved, we move to the next phase of project, which is exploration and engineering. While pre-project feasibility and foundation is sequential and in a chronological order, exploration and engineering is very much iterative. And when I say iterative, this is where we use agile or scrum approach. This is where the analysis, design, development, testing, all teams work together to explore and evolve the solution. As part of exploration, we iterate through to understand customer requirements, make prototypes, and make a high level design. And as part of engineering, we do the development, testing, review, and the documentation. However, while the processes are shown as different, in real life, when you implement Agile, exploration and engineering is actually integrated. So they are combined, and it is quite basically simultaneous, you can say. Like, I do analysis and design team also makes their design and development and testing, so they are both done together. Once the development and testing is completed, we go into the deployment, As part of deployment, we write release notes, we do handovers, we do sign offs. Apart from that, we put the system on production. You might have several releases. So if suppose release 1 is deployed, you move on to deploy the release 2, then you move on to deploy the release 3. The business does most project to get business benefits. After the project is over, business needs to know how the project has helped the organization, and for that they have something called as post project. And as part of post project, the business owners will undertake some benefits review or benefits assessments to see whether this project has really helped address the business problem and has actually achieved any business benefits for the organization. Now, these are the phases in the agile turn projects. However, when you do tailoring, you can combine pre-project and feasibility. You can combine processes. You can combine exploration and engineering. Apart from that, some of these are hybrid, chronological, that is one after another, whereas some of these are iterative. So you have best of both world. Where you want to control the progress of project, you have a waterfall style. And where you want to control the development of product, you have an agile and iterative approach. The processes tells you the work, and the people tells you who does that work. So the people aspect, here what we do is we identify the project stakeholders and we identify where they come from, and then we give them roles on our project. The color code denotes, indicates that the green ones are all technical people, the orange ones are all business owners, and the blue ones are management people. The job of the orange ones are to provide project requirements, to tell their problems, to tell acceptance criteria and expected quality, to pay for the project, and to ensure the project is value for money. Their job is to remain engaged throughout the project, to participate in requirement analysis, make sure the requirements are understood, keep checking the solution, test the solution, participate in reviews, and then finally accept the project. They also pay, so that means they keep checking their business case. The job of the green ones, who are the solutions team, their job is to basically propose the high level solution and then provide specifications of those solution. Their job is to make outline of how the solution will be developed and delivered. Their job is to make sure they create the product that meets customer requirement. They check the product, test the product, review the product, and ensure they are fit for purpose. And the blue ones, their job is to make sure all this happens. Their job is to make sure it happens on time, within budget, as agreed with the stakeholders. Blue ones are basically management people. They make project plans, they predict risks, they manage risks, and if issues come, they find workarounds, and if required, they do escalation. Their job is to do coordination amongst various stakeholders, and their job is to ensure that everyone is informed about the project progress. We'll talk about this once the overview is completed. So we have people, we have processes, and we have products. Product means deliverables. So there are some recommended products. Now, they should not be seen as set of documentation. Product means deliverables, and deliverables could be a website code, or it could be business case, a project plan, a risk log, test cases, test reports, and so on. How you do it in a particular project or in a particular environment will completely depend upon how you are configuring or tailoring agile framework for your requirement. The recommended products are in the pre-project, so you have these phases which comes one after another, as I just explained to you. Pre-project is for idea time, feasibility is to do investigation, foundation is about planning, Exploration and engineering is about development, deployment is about going live, and then post project is operations time, where you want to assess the benefits that have been realized. Now, there are some defined outputs. You can call them products, you can call them outputs, you can call them deliverables. The pre project deliverable is a terms of reference, which could be a half a page, one page, or couple of pages that tells what is the business problem that needs to be addressed. And it can also specify who are the stakeholders of the project and what are their objectives, the business objectives. The feasibility, this is the investigation time, and the proposed deliverables are some feasibility report, like is it possible from the business point of view, can we fund it, and is the benefit good enough. Apart from that, it also puts up an outline plan. The outline plan is basically only an indication of like 6 months, 9 months, 12 months kind of thing, and overall budget. So I can say, for example, if we start in June, we will finish the project around Christmas, and I can give some major timelines. For example, design completed September, development completed by November, testing completed by December. So only high level timelines, but it gives a little more details on how the foundations phase will be done. Once we get into foundations, we have different foundations for different perspectives. Like management foundation is to tell how the project will be managed, like how communications takes place, what's the overall dates and cost. And we have solutions foundations, that means how the problem will be solved, and the technical architecture and overall solutioning part. And we have business foundations, which is about the project business case and also about project requirements. So as part of foundation, we capture high level business requirements. As I had mentioned to you, we only write stories which are hardly couple of lines. For example, as a buyer, I should be able to see prices for the selected product. As a buyer, I should be able to order product online, or as a buyer, I should know the tracking of my product, like delivery of, I can track the delivery of my product, something like that. So prioritized requirement list means first you identify all the requirements of the customer and then sequence them in the order of priority. Like first we do brainstorming, capture as many stories as possible, and then get people to identify the priorities and put them in an order, maybe using something like Moscow. Then we keep this prioritized list maintained throughout. Now this name is basically, again, in Scrum, instead of calling it a PRL, that is prioritized requirement list, they generally call it backlog. It could be called as a product backlog, or it could be called as a release backlog, or they also call it like a sprint backlog. Yeah. Then we have this delivery control pack. Delivery control pack is a set of project documents or records or registers, you can say. Delivery control pack is like, how are you going to keep track of change requests, how are you going to keep track of risks, how are you going to keep track of issues, dependencies, queries, and so on. So what you do is, as part of delivery control pack, you create couple of logs and registers so that you can maintain project tracking information. Then we have this delivery plan, which is like high level plan that shows how many releases we have on the project, and within each release how many time boxes we have and what's the standard size of time box. It also shows you at a high level which features or requirements will form part of release 1 and release 2 and release 3. It's not a very detailed delivery plan. It doesn't tell you who is doing what, it doesn't tell you efforts and too many details about the plan, but it shows you at a high level the number of releases, number of time boxes, size of time boxes, the duration of project, and also shows the key features or key requirements to be released in the first one and in the second one and in the third one and so on. Once we get into development, that is exploration and engineering, That's where exactly we do analysis, design, development, and testing and UAT. So all the software engineering phases like analysis of requirements or capturing requirements and then making technical design and then doing the development and coding, unit testing, system testing, integration testing, user acceptance testing, they are actually done as part of exploration and engineering. So obviously this is where we create all our softwares and all our products. The development team have their own time box plans. So the delivery plan is broken down into time boxes. So if your project has 3 releases and the first release is after 2 months, we create a time box plan for the 2 months. Like I mentioned earlier, maybe 2 weeks each. So you have 4 time boxes. When the development starts, we create each time box plan, like as and when I start the time box, first day I make a plan what's happening in the next 2 weeks. So I take requirements from the release one, that is from the prioritized requirements list, and I say okay, we are doing the 4 time boxes, and in the first time box what are we doing? As we finish the first time box, we review how well we have done and we plan for the next time box, and then we see what needs to be done in this time box. So you keep inspect doing using inspect and adapt, and you also keep looking at uh, the estimates and how we are doing. Time box plans are maintained by the development team. Project manager does not maintain time box plan. And then we have this time box review records. Time box review records is nothing but when you finish time boxes, at the end of each time box, you check how the work was delivered, you take feedback from customers, you learn your lessons. That's basically is your time box review record, a kind of a retrospection. You keep having your solution assurance pack, which is actually your review records, test cases, test execution, test results, unit test cases, and all that. Solution assurance pack can also have your audits or inspection or performance testing, regression, whatever you do to ensure you deliver good quality product. All of that together is called a solution assurance pack. However, you can name them the way you want in your company. And the evolving solution, which is actually a set of requirements document, design document, the code itself, and so on. When we finish the development, it's time to go live. So we have the deployment plan, which contains release notes, training documents, handovers, and then we deploy the product on the live. When the product is deployed, after that we get the team together to review lessons and evaluate the project performance so that we can improve in the next project. After over a period of time, people use your solution and the business wants to see how effective is this solution and how well it has worked. The business may want to see the benefits that have been achieved by the project. Benefit assessment does that for the business. They can actually compare the projected benefits during foundation with the actual benefits in operations, and then they can see whether the project was successful from business point of view. Now this is how the chronology of work is done. These are the deliverables that we use, but as I mentioned, there are a couple of things about it. First of all, you can customize and tailor the way you use these phases and products. It is absolutely not necessary that you use the same vocabulary as they have given. This is a generic one. When you go and implement it in your company or on your project, you might call them different names. Apart from that, it's not necessary to create documentation as such, because it's not about documentation. They want us to keep lean. You check if you can do away without documentation, if you can use minutes of meetings, if you can use wallpaper charts, if you can use post-its, emails, chats, if that's how you want to run it, then you do it that way. You don't need to create documents to prove that we are using agile. It's just to suit your environment, you have to pick up these things. What you have to do, however, is, have you got this information? Have you used this information? That is good enough. What it means is, at the end of the time box, did you review it with the customer? Do you have a feedback? Do you have lessons? Have you retrospected? It is not necessary to create a time box record, but it is necessary to do that activity so that we all know how we have performed and what needs to be improved. If you do that in the email, you call it time box review record. Yeah. So that's agile products. So we've seen principles, processes, people, products. Obviously, to do all this work, people will need to have skills. They will need to have a know-how. They will need to know the techniques. The techniques comes from practices. So the agile book has covered 5 techniques that you will find useful to do the work defined in the processes. Now, many people who are new to agile or project management, they don't know, for example, how to do iterative development. Maybe they will understand the importance of iterative development, but they may not know. So the iterative development techniques tell them how you should create iterations, how many iterations you should have, what happens in the first iteration, who should do what happens at the end of iteration, and how you should customize iteration. It talks about, for example, time boxing. How do you time box? What sizes of time box you should have? What you should do during the time box? Who should make plan for the time box? What happens at the end of time box? Apart from that, when you are doing prioritization of requirements or when you are gathering requirements, it talks about various techniques that you find useful to do the work defined in the book. So just to quickly summarize once again, Agile project management has 5 important things to offer. Number one, principles, which brings the attitude that you must adapt to remain agile. There are 8 of them, and you have to follow each of those 8. You don't follow one of them, you are not following agile. The second one is processes. You can even call them phases. Some of these processes are sequential and some are iterative. The processes tells you the work that needs to be done in a chronological order. It talks about the various outputs that you will create within the processes. Products means the deliverables, could be technical or could be management. Then we have people, the roles that we have to assign to people and the accountability that comes with those roles. Primarily, you have 3 groups: management, business, and technical. So we need to have roles within each of them and has to be assigned to our key stakeholders. And finally, practices, which means the techniques, the know-how that we should have to run the project. Now that's quickly about the summary on agile. Okay, right. So this topic is about roles and responsibility part in agile project management. This topic is about the roles and the accountabilities that comes. The roles and responsibilities is one chapter in the book called People, and it supports the agile philosophy and principles. It's about stakeholders and what roles they play on the project. It's about the development team, it's about the management team, and it's about the business owners and what kind of roles they play on the project and the responsibilities that comes along with that roles. So every project has stakeholders. Stakeholders are those who are affected by the project or they can affect the project. Some of these stakeholders are internal and some stakeholders are external. External stakeholders could be your customers or they could be your suppliers. Sometimes they both come from internal to the company. What we need to do is we need to identify all our stakeholders and we need to determine amongst them who is going to provide us with the requirement, whose problem are we trying to solve, who is going to use our products. We also want to find out who is doing all the work of this project. Some do the work, some tell what work needs to be done. Those who do the work, they bring some skills, competencies, and some equipments or technology that builds the solution. They probably charge you for that. So we need somebody else who's going to pay for all this. So we have actually three primary interests: those who wants to use the products, those who will deliver the products, and those who will pay for developing the products. We need to engage all three. To engage all three, we need to have a team structure and set of roles that we can assign to them. If we do not involve any one of them, then that particular aspect or perspective is not understood, which is not pretty good. I mean, projects are done by people, and if people are not involved and engaged, then there will be some problem. Now, a lot of common problems on the projects are about stakeholders. For example, if I don't involve users, then probably I won't have a buy-in when my product is completed, or I might be flooded with change requests when they see the products. Or they may just simply refuse to use my product because it doesn't solve their problems. Similarly, if I don't involve my development team, then I won't know what are their problems, efforts, estimates, how they are producing the deliverables, and they won't have an opportunity to represent themselves. And then we have management team, the project managers, the team leaders who will basically identify how all the work will take place and when it all will finish. Keeping all this in mind, Aton proposes a structure that brings together all interests like the business, the solutions, and the management. The orange rules, they represent business, the business stakeholders. Business stakeholders' interest in the project is about the problem, what solution is required, at what terms, that is payments and quality. The business roles here are represented by business sponsor who pays for the project, the business visionary who is basically the requirements owner, the person who tells the requirement or prioritizes the requirement, the technical coordinator whose job is to provide the high level solution and make sure the solution solves the customer problems and the solution is of good quality. These are like top level roles in this organization structure, and the project manager coordinates between these top level roles. The other business roles on the project include business ambassador. These basically represents the business interest on the project. Business analyst who understands customer problems and helps towards finding a good solution. And then you might have business advisors who are like specialists who provide inputs for specific business areas. The technical team includes the solution developers and solution testers. And then we have the management team represented by project manager, team leader, workshop facilitator, and attorney coach. Now, all these roles are compulsory. In fact, there is one more role which is added recently, which is technical advisor, who is like a specialist who provides some kind of specific inputs for technology part of point of view. For example, some database champion, or maybe some operating system expert, or maybe a third party software guru or something. Now, all these roles are compulsory. Every role must be assigned. But that brings a question like, if my project team is very small, how do I assign all these roles? So maybe you can combine two roles and give it to one person as long as it does not create conflict of interest. Whereas if your teams are very large, one role can be done by multiple people. For example, you can have multiple technical coordinators like enterprise architects, or you might have multiple team leaders, multiple solution developers, multiple solution testers, and all. The project level roles include the top level. Their job is to manage, direct, and coordinate, whereas The solution development team roles includes team leader, solution developer, business analyst, solution tester, and business ambassador. These are like core roles of the solution development team. These are the people who actually create the softwares or the products. And the other roles, these are like facilitators. They basically support the other people in doing their work and assist them. So let's just look at these levels. So let me repeat once again. We have roles classified at three levels: project, solution, and others. And we have three types of groups: the business group, the technical group, and the management group. Each role is compulsory. On small project, you can combine roles and assign it to one person as long as it does not create conflict of interest. Let's talk about the business sponsor role. Usually, this person will come on the board at the time of pre-project or maybe at the time of feasibility. Business sponsor is like the project champion. His job is to provide financial decisions on the project. So maybe a CEO, maybe a director level person, maybe somebody like a CFO, someone who is authorized to make decisions on finances, someone who is able to deliver capability to realize benefits, someone who is highest point of escalation on the project and is able to address and resolve business issues. The business sponsor represents those who have finance or kind of money value interest on the project. Their job is to ensure that the project remains viable throughout. Their job is to make sure that there is a good viable business case and that throughout the project it is reviewed at regular intervals to ensure the project remains worthwhile throughout. Sponsors don't get involved on a day-to-day basis on the project. They probably will come at the end of time box or maybe at the end of an increment to see how we have delivered the functionality, what the functionality has been delivered, and then probably after the project is over, they will participate in benefits assessments to check how the project has contributed to the overall business and the organization. Usually, as I said, senior people are kind of authorized to take up this role. The business visionary, on the other hand, reports to the sponsor. The business visionary's job is to provide strategic direction to the project. They basically ensure that the business problems are understood and that the business needs are addressed. Their job is to make sure that the solution enables business benefit. So they help understand the problem, they see what solution is offered, and they will check if that solution will be able to achieve the desired outcome and benefits. They basically promote change in the organization. They provide their business vision to the stakeholders. Apart from that, they are the one who own the project requirements. So basically, if you are the business visionary on the project, you will own the requirements prioritized list. So you will be basically prioritizing the requirements. And when you say Moscow, you will make sure the must have requirement are understood and are delivered. When the project starts execution, the visionary, maybe because he or her is very senior, may not get involved within a time box activity. So they may ask their representative to check how the product is evolving, and they will also empower their representative to make decisions on their behalf on should have and could have. However, if there is any change or any impact on a must have, it will have to be a business visionary to make a decision on what to do with that requirement. So, business visionary represents the business perspective and interest. They are basically the one who owns the requirements. Business visionary owns the prioritized requirement list, provides the must have priorities, and ensures that the must have is delivered. And if there is any impact on must have, they are the one who make the decisions. So when you said you are implementing SAP system, the various business owners or business unit heads or department heads, for example, finance, or for example, sales and marketing, or maybe inventory, the department heads or whoever heads that particular function can become a business visionary. Or it is also possible that all department heads form some kind of a group, and then one person called as business visionary represents that group. On behalf of the group, this person makes decisions on the project by providing the priorities and requirements. Probably they participate in the initial requirements gathering to provide all the vision and kind of requirements. Then we have the project manager. The project manager comes from the management group. Project manager's job is to understand what is required to deliver
Ashish,
this. Yeah, good.
sorry, just a second.
Yeah,
About business visionary,
yeah,
in which project phases are they involved? They are involved in the pre-project phase,
yeah,
and
yeah.
what other phases? I think
Yes.
exploration also, right?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Good question. So, business visionary you can identify during pre-project, maybe because they are the one who came out with the problem or the business need, because it's the business owners or users or function heads who generally kind of request for project. So they are identified during pre-project. At that time, they might have to provide the problem statement, and then at the time of visibility they might contribute in understanding the high level requirements, or maybe the background, or the justification for the project, because they are the one who are basically able to tell if this business need is addressed, how they can contribute in benefits for the organization. Because they bring the problem, they also tell if the problem is solved, how it will benefit the organization. So at the time of feasibility they participate in business case development. And then when you do foundations phase, that's the time when you do this stakeholder kind of facilitated workshops to understand requirements, the business requirements. They are the one who basically will provide the high level requirements and also their priorities. But as I said, and as you rightly asked, whether they will be involved during development, because the market conditions can change, because some other priorities can come up. Maybe during development they will provide those the priorities. As I said, if you are running a time box, or if you are running a release, and if you are not able to finish all requirements, you must protect at least the must haves. But there might be times when even those cannot be delivered. At that time you have to involve the visionary to reprioritize. Like if three must haves are affected, which must have can be dropped? Apart from that, what they do is they also participate at the start of time box if they have time. So they can participate at the start of time box or at the end of time box to see how the solution is evolving, whether we are in the right direction. Now generally, if very high level people take up this role, then they may not be able to spend time on a regular basis or too much time. But if they don't, then we are having the same problem that we have in traditional projects, which is about change requests and delays. So if visionary does not have enough time, then they may have to delegate some responsibilities. And that's where that business ambassador role comes up. Because we need to engage everybody, because there is a principle called collaborate and communicate. And if visionary is not available on a regular basis or on an ad hoc basis, we have his representative or a deputy as part of our solution development team, and that person called as the business ambassador. Yeah. So business visionary is across the entire project, and is also responsible to do benefits assessment as part of post project. Yeah, so you can do escalations to visionary, you get feedbacks from visionary, participate them, get them to kind of provide you requirements or explore the details of requirements. So as part of exploration also they can participate, yeah, if they are subject matter expert and also have time. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
clear.
yeah. And another thing about them is, like, if you are using Scrum, then they are called as product owner. Yeah, and in Scrum world, the product owners are basically representing the stakeholders, and their job is to provide a product backlog. Yeah, and their job is then to help understand the requirements priorities. So you have all the user stories, help the project team to understand the functionality behind each user stories, define the acceptance criteria, and basically maintain the product backlog. They are the one who communicate with both project team as well as the other stakeholders. Yeah. Okay. The project manager is the person who is basically responsible for. Yeah, sorry, you have a question.
Oh, no, sorry. It just got, with the hand, it just got unmute.
Okay, no
Sorry.
problem. So we have this project manager. The responsibility of a project manager includes ensuring that there is good coordination amongst different team members. The job is to basically create a high level delivery plan that shows the time scales and cost and also the number of time boxes. Their job is to make sure that the priorities of requirement is understood. The project manager is responsible to identify the team and basically make sure the team understands the objective of project. Apart from that is like a more like a facilitator to the team. Now there is a difference between project manager in traditional project and in agile project. In traditional project manager prepares detailed plans, yeah, and delegates work to the team, and it's more like a command and control style of project management. Whereas in agile, the project manager does not create team activities and team plans. Basically, the project manager runs the team either using a team lead, or if he's also the team lead, still may not create team activities and tasks or tell team what needs to be done. Basically, he's like a servant leader. His job is to empower people, encourage them to kind of identify their own plans and own their own plans, and amongst the team they deliver the work as required. Project manager is more like a facilitator. His job is to look at the high level project risks and ensure that the roadblocks or the hurdles that stop teams from delivering are basically removed and kind of speed up the process. Project manager creates the governance plan for the project, the release plans for the project, and keeps stakeholders informed through weekly or as required status reporting. And if the project is not going to plan, maybe escalate it to the stakeholders. Very important activity is communication and coordination. But as I mentioned, there is a huge difference between how you run agile teams versus how you run traditional projects. Traditionally, project manager is expected to do lots of detailed planning, like day-wise planning for each resource, doing estimation, effort, scheduling, and many other things. Here, project manager is actually getting the team to make their own plans by kind of leading, directing, supporting, coaching, and facilitating. So it's more like people oriented kind of a role. Yeah. The project manager may also play the role of team leader. Basically, if the teams are small and we can't even afford to have a team leader, or maybe the project manager is quite a hands-on team leader, like normally you have in small teams. The leader also takes up some technical work and also works along with the team. The technical coordinator is a role something like yours. the job of a technical coordinator is to make high level technical designs. Now, it could be a group of people. For example, when I used to work with a company in UK, we had a group of enterprise architects, yeah, about four of them. And the job of the enterprise architects was more like one of them, I mean, they were like looking at the solutions, and they were supported by a few other architects. Like we had a data architect, we had a database architect, and we had the technical architect as well, and each had their own kind of areas to look after. So technical coordinators also included configuration managers who ensure that versioning of the solution is controlled. So you have a group of people, or in small projects you might have the same person controlling all aspects of solution delivery. Their job is to also define the technical standards that needs to be followed, and they also ensure that they help the team or the developers to kind of create the solution as per to the expected requirements. They are part of the project level group. So the three senior roles that make the project level group includes sponsors, visionary, and the technical coordinator. If you are working in a customer supplier environment, usually if you are doing the project for a customer, technical coordinator role can come from your side. Is this something that you are doing?
Uh, no, I'm not doing that as of now. I'm still not there at this moment. Okay, I have a question regarding, you said these three people are the top level group, the
Yes,
business
project
visionary,
level. Yeah,
the business visionary, sponsor, and the technical coordinator.
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
But then what about the project manager and the team leader?
Correct. So basically, these three roles are the project level roles, and the project manager is also at project level, but he's like a coordinator. So I said these are the three major stakeholders, and the project manager has to balance the need of all these three. So all four at the
Okay.
project level, but team leader is part of the solution development team.
Yes, but team leader is part of both, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, why it is shown as overlapping, because the team leader leads the team and the project manager delegates the work to the team leader, and sometimes project manager is also the team leader.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
right.
okay.
So let's look at this team leader role then.
Yeah.
Team leader basically reports to the project manager. The job of a team leader is to ensure that team understands the work, they understand the constraints. The time boxes are owned by team leader, whereas the releases or increments are planned by the project manager. So the way it works is we have got three releases, one each after 2 months, and the 2 months is divided into time boxes of 2 weeks each. So when we start time box, the team leader takes over from project manager and prepares the time box plan. Project manager reviews that. So when you prepare the time box plan, you pick up the requirements that needs to go into that time box. You understand the priorities within that time box. Team leader's job is to determine the bandwidth of resources for that time box, see their availability, see the efforts required to complete the work, see if there are any constraints and concerns, and on a daily basis get the team together to attend the daily stand up, and in the daily stand up understand the progress of team to complete time box objectives. So what you did yesterday, what you are doing today, and is there anything that is stopping you from completing your work. The team leader reports to the project manager. The team leader also could be a technical person, might do some other work, so you kind of uh, customize this role as per to your project requirement. Like I mentioned, sometimes In small projects, the project manager team leader role can be combined. But when you have large projects and you have multiple teams, you may have multiple team leaders running their individual teams. Usually comes on the project during foundations and then run exploration and engineering. You might have various different teams like analysis, design, development, testing, and each team comes together to form one unit to deliver the set of functionality, and it is run by the team leader. People oriented people a person, and basically leads the team in terms of empowering them and kind of facilitating and supporting them. As part of solution development, we have two more roles: solution developer and solution tester. You can share these roles with multiple people, like you can have more than one solution developers, more than one solution tester. Job of solution developer is to understand business requirement, understand the required design, make the design and translate that into a deployable solution. So basically write a code or create a design, create unit test cases, execute them, review, participate in peer reviews, integration. All of that is part of solution developer. They are one of the core member of solution development team. Reports to the team leader, participates in time boxing, ensures the time box objectives are achieved. Very similar to solution tester, you can have one or many part of the solution development team. Their job is to understand the functionality. Their job is to make test cases, execute them, participate in reviews, and they work according to the technical testing strategy designed by the technical coordinator. They all work within the solution development team. Once again, in Agile, one person can be multitasking. So you might have developers, testers as the same person, or you might have them as different people. Apart from that, in in waterfall or in traditional projects, we have defined phases. So all business analysis work is done in requirements gathering or maybe analysis phase. All design work is done, then all development work is done, and then all testing work is done. Whereas here, you might have all of them working together in the same time box. The business ambassador role is actually to represent business within the solution development team. They basically represent the visionary. The job of an ambassador is to ensure that there is a day to day communication between project and business. If the visionary is a very senior person, then the visionary may not be able to participate on a regular basis or may not be able to kind of be there for answering the ad hoc queries of the development team, or maybe to participate in review or do the user acceptance testing and so on. So what we have here is we have a business ambassador who is actually the voice of the business visionary, who is also empowered to make decisions on should have and could have requirements. So if any of the should have or could have is to be dropped, the business ambassador can make a decision about it. Sometimes the visionary and ambassador roles could be the same when you have very small teams or maybe in very small companies. You can have multiple business ambassadors to ensure that their perspective is understood. They probably are the one who actually use the solution when it is ready. So if I am doing the online website for the users, then maybe the marketing sales team and whoever is going to use that website, their head their representatives can come and play the role of business ambassador. You can have some other business roles like business analyst and advisor. Business analyst is a pretty common role. Their job is to understand the functionality and basically translate it into non-functional requirements. For example, performance requirements, screen designs, apart from that, controls, user journey, and make sure that the development team understand how the requirement needs to be implemented. Remember, there's a difference between business analyst and business ambassador. Business ambassador provides the input, whereas business analysts understand them and creates a solution, and the developers and testers create the solution and test it. Yeah, business advisors may or may not be involved in every project. They are basically specialists who provide specific inputs. For example, uh, if I am working on the payments gateway and if I need to have some kind of a specific input on legal or contracts or some kind of a non-disclosure agreement or something, then I might use these specialists to give me an overview of that functionality. Now these are like subject matter experts. For example, we were doing some kind of a contract with our vendor, and then we involve the legal people for only that particular activity so that they can review our contract and suggest us which type of contract to use, and if there are any terms and conditions that should be specifically included to protect our interest. Two other roles which you might find useful: agile coach. Their job is basically to help teams understand how to go about using agile and Aton. Their job is to make sure the team understands the processes, they know how to do prioritization of requirement, the time box processes. They make sure that the time boxes are completed on time and not extended. They also make sure that all roles are assigned and they know their responsibilities. Basically, they are the enablers of appointing agile. We have workshop facilitators. Again, these role can be played sometimes by project manager, sometimes by agile coach or some other people. The job of a workshop facilitator is to ensure that uh, the workshops that we conduct, for example, for requirements gathering or for design or for walkthrough to the stakeholders, all these workshops are conducted in an independent manner and that the participants understand the objectives and the objectives are achieved. They make sure that everyone participates. Basically, they are like moderators and are catalysts to help the workshop is done in a successful manner. Now, all these roles, these can be tailored, and basically one person can play multiple roles. Sometimes you might need specialists to be brought in, and if they are required, the project manager will request these resources to the sponsors, allocate money and funding, and then get them. These are like very specific rules. For example, if I have to implement on production and then I need somebody to help me with backups, or I need somebody to write some Unix scripts, for example, I might get these people to just help and support our teams. Now, one of the key things about the agile projects is the empowerment and escalation of issues. Empowerment means all these people, what kind of authorities they should have. For example, if the development team starts working and if every small problem needs to be escalated or they need business to answer every small query, then they are already chasing a 2 weeks time box or a 1 week time box. So time is always less for them. Waiting for decisions or getting someone to help and resolve their concerns is actually not a good solution, because in such cases they might have to wait and then they will lose their time. So what agile recommends is we should empower people to make some decisions so that the minor decisions they can take and they don't have to wait for the senior people. And that is why we have got this business ambassador within the development team. The job of business ambassador to be able to make decisions and suggestions to the team based on the requirements that are should have or could have. Apart from that, time does not change, so we don't need to escalate those things, but any must have is affected, we should inform that to the visionary, and the visionary will provide us the decision. Business issues may be escalated formally or informally to visionary or sponsors, but this is typically done by the ambassador. The day-to-day decision makings are done by the teams. So when they meet on a day-to-day basis in the stand-up meetings, they discuss their hurdles. The project manager's responsibility to ensure that the hurdles within the team road are basically addressed. Some of the tips a turn provides is having a small team is really useful. So keep the team size ideally 7 plus minus 2, that is not more than 9 and not more than 5. If you have less than 5 people on the team, then nothing much is accomplished in time boxes. But if you have large teams, more than 9, then coordination and communication becomes a effort in itself. So you have to do a lot of coordination, and you will have a big span of control. So having small teams helps. Maybe one person can play multiple roles. It is also very necessary to have a good relationship with sponsors, because they are the one who pay for the project. So we got to have them in confidence and interested. And then we have basically the business ambassador's role is commitment, is ensuring that the business perspective is understood. They provide solutions to the queries and suggestions. They also provide basically the priorities amongst the should have and could have, and help in this quick decision making on should have and could have. Finally, Agile promotes a one team culture, so the team must collaborate to deliver the solution. Now, that's basically about the